Hello, and today we'll be playing Lyre. I'm about to continue with chapter 8 now. The rest of the day moves by dreadfully slow. Angel sits on his father's throne, stiff and uncomfortable. He knows that he belongs here, but it doesn't feel right. It's been his destiny since he was born, but receiving it in this way was not how he wanted it. He looks around the room, his eyes dancing around at the people that fill it. Leaves softly fall down from the overgrown trees above to land among the crowd. Some of them he recognizes from the village, business owners and shopkeepers. Some of them are wealthy traders. Everyone else is just noble lords and ladies from the rest of Lyre. The extravagant designs on their clothes contrast the muted color scheme that seems to be so popular with this part of the land. That crafty feline for Dries sticks out like a sore thumb amongst the crowd in his bright green coat. There's no hard to though. Almost more than half the room is empty by now. Noah's came up to the throne one by one and wished him a long and prosperous rule, shaking his hand and bowing. He say he enjoyed this little bit of social interaction, but right now, that's the last thing he wants. The amount of emotions he's been keeping bottled up these past 2 days have been taking a toll on him. Right now, he just wishes he could be alone. To his right is Elizabeth. She's leaning against one of the walls, arms down by her side with a dull expression upon her face. Even Idris could never understand why she always looked so bored with everything. She notices him glancing in her direction and approaches. Something wrong? Isn't it obvious? Idris. She somehow manages to throw him a look of both understanding and irritation at the same time. I apologize. No, it's okay. I know you've been through a lot lately. It's not that. I'm just tired of being surrounded by all these people. He leans towards her. Forgive me, but I'm not in the best state of mind right now. And that's okay. I understand how these things can be a bit emotionally draining. If you want, I can take over from here. Almost everyone is gone now, and the after party will start in a bit. It's best you go and prepare for that. That's true. He adjusts the crown on his head. It was professionally fitted for him, but it's still a bit big. I suppose I could let you take over, but I don't think there's really much to do. From here. If I were to stay, it would probably just be sitting here watching as everyone talks with each other. He stands from his throne and rests his hand on the armrest. I know that your position as war minister is being tested right now. The future isn't looking too bright, but in order to achieve my dream, we'll need to play it smart. Of course, I offer my advice whenever I can. Sometimes Idris wonders why his father even had an advisor. To him, it seems like he treated everyone like a consultant. Your advice is welcome. At least I'll have someone older than myself for an advisor. Yes, I suppose. There's something that always bothered me about father. What's that? I mean, no offense by this, but why did he choose you as an advisor? Given it's usually standard to have someone much older than oneself advise you on these matters. She at first seems confused, but then quips that smirk she always has. Your father never saw it that way. He once told me that wisdom and age aren't everything. He valued the youth of our generation. Said that their outlook on life and untainted experiences were what the world needed in order to achieve a brighter future. All that allowed for a king who chose to listen to the right people. Angel taps a leaf on the ground with his hoof while listening to Elizabeth. She leans forward, looking into his eyes with her hands behind her back as if to get his attention. He believed that advice could be found anywhere. Trust me, growing up, he had plenty of old and wise men and women teaching him everything he knew. But as he got older, he searched for a different point of view. Choosing people he trusted to lead a good example rather than young or old. As he said this, Angels glares out into the crowd and spots Lyre. He's talking with another wolf, a local baker from the looks of it. They finish their conversation and Lyre heads out into the hall. Angel stays away from the throne, still looking at Lyre. Not everyone has. Angels, please don't. Just want to talk to him. He snaps his finger, signaling the two guards standing by the side door to follow him. They quickly rise from their slump over positions and follow him behind. Angels walks down the steps and heads straight down the long green carpet, people stepping out his way and bowing. He pays them no attention, his eyes trained on that bastard as if he had tunnel vision. Ever since that night, he's been wanting to confront him alone. Lyre's been sulking about ever since, as it was his father that was murdered. Oh yes, he must be so conflicted. Angels exits the throne room and turns the corner, looking down the hall. Spots Lyre moseying down the corridor. His tail swishing left to right in an almost rhythmic way, causing his cage to flutter side to side. He's not going in the direction of his room, though. Dog! He slumps his shoulders and turns around, slowly with a look of annoyance. King Idris, how many times must I beg you to not call me that? That's what dogs do, though, right? They beg. The guards stand behind Idris now, their faces expressionless, and their gaze straight ahead. I suppose. Anyway, what do you want? He says this with a tone of indignation. Idris fiddles with his shoulder cape as he speaks. Oh, it's nothing. Just wanted to speak with you about everything that's happening personally. These past few days have been rather busy. Lyre straightens himself out a bit. Yes, they have. I'm really sorry about what happened. Losing one's father is truly a terrible thing. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Idris grits his shoulder cape a bit tighter in his fist. He's been hearing several different variations of that phrase all week. None of them have felt genuine except for his, which irks him the most. Yes, thank you for your kind words. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. Lyre slumps down a bit more. His shoulders are as low as they can be. Oh. Yes, I'm sure you saw this coming, but I wanted to talk about your assignment. Going into traitor and all that. He jumps at the statement. He didn't do it. Yes, I know that you believe with all your heart that he wasn't the one to do it. But can't you see that he's lying to you? Lyre is silent, glaring at him with those wolven eyes. He wouldn't lie to me. Really? How do you know that? He goes to speak, hesitates, and continues. Because I know him. Better than you, at least. Oh, of course. Idris rolls his eyes at this notion. You silly dog. I barely know him, and I'm assuming the worst about him with strong evidence. You've only known him for, let's be generous, and say a month. And yet you act like you know him enough to assume he's perfectly innocent. Those two don't really seem comparable, do they? Lyre's lips quivers a bit before making an irritated expression. He quickly turns around and begins to walk in the opposite direction. I've had enough of this conversation. It's been for about... You're going to visit with him right now, aren't you? He staggers a bit with his footsteps and turns around while still walking. Answer just... You love him, don't you? Lyre then stops in his tracks completely. After all he's done, he stands there with his mouth agape, clearly thinking of how to respond. Idris enjoys the way people have to tread on glass while speaking with him. One little slip up and they'll put it in his hands. Finally he speaks. I don't really know what you're talking about. Oh, but you do. and to see it in those big eyes of yours. Idris steps forward with his hands behind his back, leaning in a bit. Are you sure he's not just leading you on? If I recall, it's happened before in the past. Lyre visibly clenches his fist. That was different. Idris crosses his arms over his chest and nods. Yes, of course. Only you would know. But it's different. And so you do love him. Lyre turns to walk away. Yeah, I must be. Tell me, did you fall head over heels for him before, or after he fought you? So, Idris. Idris doesn't move from his spot. The two guards behind him flinch a little as Lyre lets his emotion get the better of him. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, for your sake. Lyre realizes what he just did and backs down, his tail tucked between his legs. I'm sorry, don't apologize, you fool. I'm going to make one thing perfectly clear. Do you understand? You're not to visit him anymore. I'm sorry. Ritter. I don't want you seeing him. You can't have your emotions interfering with this trial. You need to understand what's at stake here, Leo. Understand what's at stake here. You need to understand that something crazy is going on. You didn't kill Raynor, and whoever did do it is probably still lurking around. They might be out for your head. Idris holds up a hand, not wanting to hear any more of this nonsense. That may be so, but this is the safest option right now. I give you an order, Leo. If I catch you in that dungeon again, I'll have you punished. With that, Leo backs away with a solemn expression on his face. His tail is limp between his legs, as he whistles. He turns and skulks away. Good dog. I'll tell him you say hi. Idris throws his cape to the side and turns in the other direction. Come. The guards behind him quickly turn and follow him, trying to keep up with his fast pace as he walks down the corridor. Idris isn't even mad at Lyre. Lyre's loyalties to his kingdom are far too strong for him to break faith, but he can't let his emotions influence his trial. Descending the staircase, he reaches the bottom and turns around the corner. More stairs lead him down into the depths of the castle, and becomes increasingly more chilly with each step he takes. The floor is damp and cold, along with the walls. Finally, they reach the bottom, a long hallway with cells lighting the left side. It smells like spring water. There's a guard posted at the entrance. His eyes are tired, his body slumped against the wall. He sees Idris and instantly straightens up. Stay. The guards behind Idris stand by the door to the stairwell as he continues through the tunnel. He always hated it down here. He came down here once to play as a child and let his imagination get the better of him. For the next couple of years, he was definitely afraid of those dungeons. Playing in the gardens was much more preferable. His brother enjoyed chasing him through the bushes and would even help him climb trees. She always had a few gowns that were covered in grass stains. Eventually, those just became her gardening clothes. Why is he remembering this now? He's been unintentionally thinking of childhood memories a lot lately. Given current events, it would make sense that they constantly try to breach the walls of his mind. He can't let those memories get to him, though. Not now. For what it's worth, he doesn't have a single worry when it comes to ruling. Whatever happens will happen, but as long as it's within his control, he'll prevail. He has to. As long as he keeps pushing through, no matter the struggle, he'll reach that goal. The hall stretches on into the dim horizon, almost bending. Each cell he passes, he looks inside to try to spot him. With each empty cell, he grows more and more concerned that he somehow escaped. That would be impossible and stupid. After a few minutes, he reaches the last cell and looks inside. At first, he half expected it to be empty, but this was not the case. There he is. He's just sitting there on the dirty floor, slouching with his back against the wall. His eyes are distant and far away as he stares off into empty space. It's almost like he's looking at nothing. It's only been a few days. He can't have gone insane already. Along with all of this, he isn't decently dressed. All he's wearing right now is his undershirt, trousers, and a pair of socks. Already lost it, halfway. Upon hearing his name, Victor turns and looks at Adris. His eyes are sullen and his face lacks almost all motion. The pupils are a deep shade of purple, which causes Adris a moment of confusion. He shrugs this off, having never paid attention to his eye color before. He wonders if that's normal for humans. Not yet. He shifts his legs slightly, adjusting himself. I imagine that upsets you. Not really. It doesn't make me feel anything. Just knowing you're down here is the only assurance I need. Well, it's been fun talking with you then. Nice crown. He goes back to staring at the floor. Angel is finding it harder and harder to keep his cool. His anger has reached its boiling point. If you think I'm going to be dismissed by someone sitting in a cell, then you truly have gone mad. Richard's son is drumming his fingers on his leg. I know why you came down here. You're looking in the wrong place then. I didn't do it. Of course you didn't. He says it in a sarcastic tone. Winter, I didn't come all the way down here to debate whether you did it or not. I don't need to. Then why did you come down here? What more do you want from me? What more can you do to me? Nothing really. Only justice can get me what I want. Your nobility, as fake as it is, grants you a bit of safety down here. Not to mention, if we don't go about this right, it could start a war. Punishing you before the trial will cause problems. But you already know that. Just wanted to make sure you're suffering. Richard smirks for just a second before bringing his face back to its original expression. He says something under his breath. No, I don't think I could say that. What was that? Nothing. Just talking to myself. Okay? Oh, I should mention this before I forgot. Your manservant won't be seeing you anymore. Victor looks up, his attention being pulled in Adris' direction as if it were turned on a rope. What? Yes, I forbidden him from coming down to comfort you during your stay here. Victor glares at him with a look of confusion. Manservant? Comfort me? What are you talking about? There's no need to hide it. Everyone knows about your scandalous relationship. Victor lets out a little sigh of defeat. That's not surprising. I can't say I didn't see this coming. Honestly, I understand wanting to make as many friends as possible as a foreign political figure, but don't you think this is taking it a little bit too far? Angel just whispers this at him in a mocking tone, and Victor slumps more into the wall. Ha ha. Shut up. At first, Angel is taken aback by this miniature outburst. He quickly regains control. That's not way to talk to a king, is it? Then again, you wouldn't know much about someone's respect to kings. Says the one who constantly disrespected his father at every turn. Angel shrugs his comment off, knowing it isn't true. He runs his hand along one of the cell bars, staring daggers at Victor. You think we're the same, don't you? What? You believe that we are similar, comparable? No. We're very different. The difference between the two of us is simple, but I'll dumb it down for you. Get on with it. You play chess, right? I assume you do. It's a common strategic game in the era. If you're going to make a chess analogy in front of me, it would better be good. Who am I kidding? Even if it's bad, I'll still get amusement out of it. Quiet. As I was saying, the difference between the two of us is that you see this as a game. To you, it's all a board of pieces to be moved, altered, and shifted. Pawns to be played, just as our dear friend Leon. That was a knight. You know, the horsey chick. That was a knight. You know, the horsey piece. And kings to be checked. Angels interrupts him to continue his comparison. For you, the game can be settled. You and the fools that you get to follow you with tails wagging can walk away from all of this. And even if you lose, he gestures to the cell Winter is currently sitting in. It won't matter in the end. It won't be remembered. You won't be remembered. Winter stares into his eyes with curiosity. I never had that option. If I lose, if my piece on the board is checkered, that will forever be remembered for it. If I fail, nobody will forget it. Aegis backs away to leave and looks at Winter. I hope you take solace in that. Aegis turns on his hoof and strides away. Before he can be out of earsight, however, Winter approaches the door and retorts, "What if I was never even your opponent?" Aegis turns back around in the direction of the cell. Then the game is truly lost. With that, he continues down the long tunnel. Once he reaches the beginning, he turns to the guards standing at the entrance. There will be no further visits from Sir Reed. This is an order that needs to be relayed to the rest of the guards stationed down here. Am I clear? The guard salutes in response. Good. Aegis turns to the guards standing by the stairs. He walks past them, snapping his fingers. The guards follow behind him, their clattering armor echoing throughout the tunnel until all that's left is silence. Standing by the cell door, I wait to hear until Aegis is out of earsight. I hear him mumble something about Lyre to one of the guards. He's really doing it. Damn it. I was trying my hardest to keep my cool while he was down here, especially since he caught me while I was in the mind's eye. I reached down, grabbing clumps of straw in my fist and proceed to throw them to the side in a fit of rage. I get on my knees and bury my face in my hands, hunching over and grimacing into my palms. Knowing I would still get to see Lyre while I'm down here was the only thing keeping me going. Not in trying to figure out this mess. Throwing a tantrum won't solve anything. Now all I have is this incessant voice in my head. It still sounds like they're talking through me. It sounds like they're talking to me through a wall, but it's getting easier. It suddenly makes me feel better. I whisper this under my breath for a time. If it makes you feel any better, I'm sorry that this happened to you. Oh please, you saw it coming. You know everything that's going to happen. Not really. It's a bit more complicated than that. I stand up and walk over to my bed, sitting down on its hard surface. I wish I could warn you about these things. Really, I do. Guiding my avatars is like taking care of a plant. A very annoying and needy plant. They constantly require things. If I give them something wrong, they die. That's reassuring. I understand you miss him, but you can't let this sway your resolve. I know, I won't let it. I just wish I didn't have to be away from him. He's practically the only person I have left to talk to. Besides you, of course. I'm well aware. I lay down on my back, staring at the cracked ceiling. Do you feel as if you've grown dependent on him? No, it's nothing like that. It's not like I need him or anything. Well, certainly you know. You've been watching this whole time. You know how I feel about him. There's no response at first. Do you love him? Of course. No. This isn't an interrogation. I don't doubt you. I'm answering you right here, right now. The voice becomes a bit more clear. Do you love him? I stare at the ceiling and wait before answering. They can probably read my thoughts or something and know exactly what I'm going to say. It seems impossible, even rational from an outside perspective, but yes, I love him. Good. You said. You can't let these things stop you or get in your way. I sit up from my resting position. You're right. I can't let this stop me. I just hope that Lyre is doing all right. Do you know if he's okay? There's no response. Damn you good. Please. I've been doing this for countless years. I learned from my mistakes. If you're going to get out of this, you're going to have to do the same. I'm getting better. I've been practicing using the mind's eye to see into the past for a few days. I'm getting a little better at it, able to see different events here and there, but nothing specific. And it's all so far back that it has almost no relevance. You're not even close. Seeing into the past is one thing, but seeing something that so recently happened, that's a monumental task. Then I'll keep working at it. Good. I sit down on the floor and close my eyes, getting ready to enter the mind's eye again. Unfortunately, time in the real world does pass if I'm just having visions. Time only stands still outside when I enter the realm of the mind's eye. It's something like a sanctuary. I don't really have anything specific in mind. Right now, I just want to practice. I just need to focus like Tigran told me to. It takes a moment, but soon I feel as if I'm walking on air. Then the weightless feeling leaves my body, and I now feel as if I'm walking on solid ground. It's soft though, grass. Suddenly, I feel warmth, and my eyes are open to a completely different place. The body I'm living in right now feels different from Reynolds, but it also feels the same. The scenery is differently familiar, though. There's no mistaking that this is the Castle Gordons. Some of the planets are different from what I personally remember, but everything else for the most part is the same. It feels like a warm summer day, but the breeze is strong. Birds take refuge in the trees and chirp to their heart's content. Whoever this is, they seem to be looking around a lot. It's as if they're searching for something. It's not a frantic search, though. At one point, my vision is lowered, and I can see the rest of the body. It's a female's body, which throws me off a bit. Throws me off at first, but for some reason, it doesn't feel strange. One would think this scenario would be weird, but I don't feel anything strange. It's as if I lived in this body my whole life. I found that after a while, it starts to feel that way. The more times I've done this, the more I start to feel at home. I take my mind off of the philosophy of the situation, and instead try to wrap my head around who she is. She's wearing an emerald green dress made of a light cloth. It reaches the ground in the back, but it's lifted up in the front, allowing me to see her hooves. They're small and dainty, but walk steady and firm. The fur on her body is a light brown. Am I inside the mind of the queen? It's a possibility. I'm pretty sure this person is the deer. She continues to scan the area, leaning over to look behind bushes. Where are you? She speaks in a soft, chiding manner, and it feels strange having this voice feel as if it's coming from my mouth. I don't think I'll get used to that anytime soon. She looks up into the tree, and through the leaves I can see someone. It's a young fawn. He's perched in the tree, looking down at her with a smiling face. There's no antlers on his head, and his cheeks are covered in little spots. His eyes are big and the pupils shine like amber. It's ageless. He's very young, though, about 6 or 7. His clothes are nice, and the shirt seems to be a size too big. He lets out a giggle, and his tense body relaxes. It's as if he thought he couldn't be seen if he was absolutely still. This is also most definitely his mother. She crosses her arms, and I can feel the smile curling on her lips. Found you. That's not fair. His voice is high and pitched, but soft. Oh, and why is that? He goes to point at her, but quickly brings his arm back to the tree that he's holding on to. You were peeking. She laughs a sweet and happy laugh while struggling her shoulders. Was not. I just got lucky. She says this with an exaggerated attempt at sarcasm. You have to admit, it took me quite a while. Leans against the tree she's in. Yeah, it did take you a long time. Almost starved. He says this in a dramatic way, how a child usually would when exaggerating something. It's honestly surprising seeing him full of so much joy. I assume he wasn't completely awful, especially as a kid, but it's nice to see him smiling. Closest I've ever got to seeing that was a smirk. Can you hide this time? And I seek. She steps away from the tree and nods. Yes, sweetie. You can come down from there now. He looks down and a sliver of fear gleams in his eyes. I can't. You got up there this time without my help. So you can get down on your own. He peels over the plants again and shakes his head. No. She lets out a sigh and holds out her arms. Okay, jump down and I'll catch you. From not far away, she shakes his head once. Trust me. He hesitates for a moment and then does a weak leap from the tree. Not before plucking a wildflower from one of the limbs. He lands in her arms and she catches his weight, swinging him around a little bit before setting him on the ground. Thanks, Mom. The small Adrian hops up or down a bit before running over to someone by one of the garden walls. I immediately recognize who's by the wall. Reno is sitting to a small bed of flowers. He's wearing a cotton shirt and a leather apron. It's covered in dirt and water, but he still looks as regal as ever, with his crown sitting upon his head. If I could feel my own insides right now, they would be twisting up into a knot. Seeing him again sends a rush of sorrow through my head. But then I sense Elena's emotions. They're warm and fuzzy. Brother, did you see it? Raynor probably didn't see it, but he turns around and ruffles his hair fur. Of course I saw it, fuzzball. You weren't even scared, were you? Angel looks off to the side in embarrassment. A little bit. Raynor looks down at him with a warm smile. That's okay. The important thing is that you did it anyway. I got you this. He holds out his little hand, and the crumpled wildflower can be seen laying in it. Wow, look at that. It's even my favorite color. He carefully picks a flower up by the stem and holds it between his fingers. Since it's so important, I'll put it up here. He places the flower between his ear next to his crown. Elena picks up her dress and starts to walk towards them. How do I look? Angel struggles to hold back laughter. Silly. Yeah, I probably do. Angel points at a few flowers and Raynor gets a little bit excited and starts to talk about them. He seems much happier and energetic compared to the calm and collected king I'm used to. Before the queen can get any closer, my vision starts to fade. All the scenery gets pulled away from my eyes as if it's being carried down a river. I'm back in my cell, sitting exactly where I was before. There's commotion down the hall, and I can barely make out the voices. I get distracted too easily. Shh, I'm trying to listen. I lean a bit closer to the door, trying to hear better. State your business, please. I'm here to see Lord Winter. It's Lyre. Hearing his small voice is more welcoming than I thought it would be. I wish to speak to him about something. Very well. Do you need help with that? I can hear Lyre grunt slightly. No, thank you. I should be able to manage. If I listen close, I can hear the pitter-patter of his tattling feet echo down the hall as it gets closer and closer. I get up from the floor and go to sit on the end of the bed by the door. Soon Lyre comes into view, and I can see that he's carrying an old book. Even to me, this book would be large, but for him, it's monstrous. It's bound in leather that's practically falling apart, and some of the pages are falling out of the book, crammed into between other pages. He's holding it in his hands and sets it down with a big thumb. Hello. He's looking down at the ground, and I can tell he's a bit nervous. Hello. What do you want to talk about? Oh, spoke with Lyre a little while ago. About what? I'll get to that in a minute. You didn't actually kill the king, right? You're seriously asking if I would kill your king? I just wanted to hear it from you, okay? Okay. You have to admit, it's not really looking good. It's not really looking to be in your favor. Y'all managed to convince me, but if I still believe you did it, will you blame me? He brings up a good point. We had our chats from time to time, but he had every right to assume I had done it. You know how it happened. No, I wouldn't. Especially given the circumstances and everything that happened. Well, I believe that you weren't the one to do it. There's something wrong with it all. But enough about that. I've been doing a lot of research on those headaches you've been getting, along with that weird dream. Ah, yes. It's a help, or not. These books are usually heavily inaccurate and filled with harsh exaggerations. I tried to tune Tigran out as Leaf opens the book to the page he's had bookmarked. That's good. I still do get headaches from time to time. The constant noise doesn't help. Really? It's so quiet down here, though. Not all the time. Oh, okay. Well, you were saying that you had a full account of the death of our queen, correct? Yes. Along with the fact that it was from Raynor's perspective. Yes, it was from his perspective. Is there anything that says how to stop the headaches? No, there isn't. But I can stop those for you easily with the right medicine. I found something very interesting, though. I searched the library for hours, and I eventually found this book. It's old and dusty. It was crammed between some other books of the higher self. At first, I almost skipped right over it, but I realized this might have some answers. It's a bit religious, though, so bear with me. Let's hear it then. Okay. You're familiar with the Supreme Being, Tigran? See, all these silly titles they come up with. Somewhat. Our land was named after them, right? Yes, well, they were an ancient god that the people of this land used to worship back when religion was one of the pillars of our society. Their influence was strong for a very long time, but after a while, faith was broken. There are only a few people who still worship them today, and any churches we would have had are most likely crumbling ruins. I've heard that there's one that's still intact. You can visit it somewhere in Dries. Driesians are very obsessed with preservation. Leaf? Sorry, I always ramble. My point is, they believe that on a very rare occasion someone will be born with the ability of ritual cognition. Yeah? Like seeing the past? Yes. It was said to be a blessing from Tigran themselves, a way to help living beings guide themselves to a brighter future. It says here that those with this ability can see past events and dreams through the perspective of others with proper training. They can even see these events while conscious and can sometimes view said events as an outsider. He skims over the pages with his gloved wing. There's not too much information on this, though. There's something about witchcraft and other nonsense. Something about a mind's eye. A few mentions of people with this ability being executed, but nothing is well documented. That last one isn't connected, I promise. The ability hasn't shown up in a very long time, though, and seems to be lost in time. Lord Winter, I believe that those dreams you were having weren't just dreams. It seems you were having visions. You might just be the next avatar for Tigran. Hearing him say this lifts a weight off of my chest, knowing that I might not be crazy. The weight is immediately put back down, though, once I realize what this could mean. I can't trust anyone with this information right now. When it gets out, it could cause serious problems. But my advice, play it off. They're right. Leave, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I've come to the conclusion that it was just a dream. Nothing more. Yes, but it isn't. But isn't it a bit strange? You're a man of science. You really believe I have some magical ability to see into the past? Leaf looks at me through his goggles with an impatient gaze. There's something else this old book mentions. It mentions the fact that any time they look into the past, their eyes change to a different color. He leans in and stares at me with his beady little eyes. That's odd. Your eyes are green. If I recall, they were always that color. Oh, thank God. Thank God indeed. You're welcome for that. I may not be able to do much, but I know what I'm doing. Either that, or it's just pure coincidence that would be green after that last visit. Maybe you're right. I just thought I would come down here and entertain you with the idea. They all seem skeptical too. Also here, he hands me a small glass jar full of what looks like pebbles. I'm not supposed to give you this. But it's my job to make sure people are healthy. I also trust you. You better not take advantage of that fact. Take the vial from him. Thank you. You're welcome. Take one any time you get a headache and no more than one. Also hide them. He goes and picks up his book. He struggles to lift it up, but eventually straddles it in both arms. I'll try to visit again soon. Before he walks off, he turns around. One last thing. Lyre says he loves you. He wishes he could be down here with you more than anything. He turns around and starts walking away. Bye, Leaf. Bye, Winter. His footsteps throw off into the distance, and I'm again left alone in silence. The sun is beginning to set over the mountains, and I feel a chill buzz over my body. My clothes are damp and cold, so I had to take off the bulk of them. It's better to wear as little clothing as possible when they're wet like this. I pick up my coat and hang it on the bars of the cell door. After spreading it out to dry easier, I sit down on my bed and lean back. Staring at the ceiling, I try to concentrate and gather myself. Soon everything fades into nothing. Then the swirling colors flow into my vision. The ground ripples beneath my feet like a rushing current. Tigran, however, is nowhere to be found. Can you come out? I'd rather talk to you face to face. The lost Chimera god appears before me in a simmering flash. The bright green flames dance off of their fur and float up into the air. You don't trust a bird. Don't trust anyone right now. Not with this, at least. I was going to tell Lyre, but that won't be happening anytime soon. They make a reassuring gesture with their hand. I, for one, believe that you are wise to not trust anyone with this. For now, it is best to keep it to yourself. You think he suspects it anyway? I know whether he suspects it or not. But for your amusement, I'll pretend I have no outside knowledge. I think he might suspect you're my avatar. He says this like they're walking on eggshells. So he does. He does a deep, grumbling sigh. Get some rest. You done enough practice for the day. Was he right about the persecutions and all that? You have the ability to find out for yourself. But you'll have to try later. Please try to sleep. You need the energy. Fine. Leaving is much easier than when I arrived. Before I know it, I'm back in the cell. I lay down to the bed and spread out, gathering the rest of my body as close to myself as possible to keep warm. Closing my eyes, my exhausted body relaxes and I drift off into a deep sleep, thinking about all the things I've seen in the past movies today. Hopefully they'll be of some use. I just need to practice. Let's finish chapter 8. So, I think Richter is Tigran's avatar. It looks like Leaf got the information right about Richter. So I think Leaf is kind of convinced that Richter didn't do it, and that Richter also has these powers, because it does make sense now that there have been people in the past with the same power Richter has, in which they can change, they can go into the perspective of somebody else from the past to see what happened in the past, from that person's perspective. Now, Richter, we've always seen him experience the past from 10 years ago, when he was going through the perspective of of King Raynor, when he witnessed his wife being killed, as well as him going back to back when Adris was a child, and he was in the perspective of Queen Alina. So I believe that's what Richter is. He's the avatar of. He's Tigran's avatar. But actually, Tigran did confirm that, yeah, you are my avatar. So anyway, we got to see from Adris' perspective, and he's really. I don't really like Adris. I never did like him for the start, but he's even more unlikable now. And though he does seem to be a little nice with Elizabeth, but I really don't like him at all. And I really like how Richter talked back to Adris in that, when Adris came to him in that cell just to taunt him. That's all Adris was there to do, just to taunt Richter. I just like how Richter got to taunt right back at Adris. I enjoyed that part about the scene. So, hopefully somehow Richter will get out of this whole situation. Hopefully. At least maybe he won't get out of this situation as an innocent person, but at least he'll be able to at least live. Hopefully, if there is a verdict against him, it won't result in him being executed, but maybe like a lengthy prison sentence, but ultimately we hope that he gets his name clear, that he is innocent and doesn't have to be in that cell anymore. Because I do not want to see him get executed. Because Lyre also mentioned that people with this power, the avatars, people with this power, many of them have ended up being executed. But Tigran told Richter that has nothing to do, that the people being executed in the past had nothing to do with the power. So, anyway, we'll start chapter 9 next time. Thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.